Did you know that while much of Europe was still shaping bronze, an African civilization was already bending iron to its will over 2,500 years ago? Fire roared, furnaces glowed, sparks flew into the night sky of ancient West Africa, and in that light, history was being forged. If you care about the hidden chapters of African genius, subscribe, because the story of the Nok doesn't just inform you, it changes how you see human innovation itself. Here's a question most history books never ask. When we picture the Iron Age, why do we imagine Roman soldiers or Celtic warriors, but not African metallurgists standing before blazing furnaces, mastering one of humanity's hardest technologies? In what is now central Nigeria, between 1000 BCE and 300 CE, the Nok culture rose. They didn't discover iron by accident. They engineered it. They understood fire, air, earth, and chemistry long before science had formal names for those forces. And understand this, iron is stubborn. It does not surrender easily. You cannot simply throw or into a flame. Iron demands temperatures above 1,500 degrees Celsius. That means furnace design, airflow control, fuel science, structural materials that won't collapse under extreme heat. The Nok solved all of it. They built furnaces that breathed like living things. They controlled oxygen. They chose charcoal carefully. They created the reducing atmospheres needed to pull metal from stone. This was not luck. This was knowledge passed down, refined, protected. Archaeologists have found the evidence. These were not crude experiments. Nok iron tools were strong, precise, effective. Their furnaces could survive repeated firings. Their smiths shaped metal into tools that changed daily life. But here's where the story gets bigger. The Nok did not exist in isolation. Knowledge moved. Techniques spread. Across West Africa, iron technology blossomed. This was not one village. This was a regional technological awakening. And the Nok were among its earliest masters. Think about the timeline. The Nok were smelting iron by 500 BCE or earlier. Around the same time, or later, iron was still spreading through parts of Europe. History was not one-directional. Innovation was happening in multiple centers, and Africa was one of them. This is not about rivalry. It's about truth. And the Nok were not only scientists of fire, they were artists of earth. Their terracotta sculptures, with their striking eyes and detailed expressions, are among Africa's oldest known figurative artworks. Look at those faces. They're thoughtful, observant, human. The same minds capable of such artistic depth were also solving complex metallurgical challenges. This was a society of balance, art and science, creativity and engineering. Now ask yourself something powerful. What happens when a society masters iron? Forests fall to iron axes. Fields open to iron hoes. Harvests grow. Surplus food appears. Populations expand. Craftspeople specialize. Trade networks widen. Art flourishes. Governance becomes more complex. Iron wasn't just metal. It was momentum. Even the furnaces tell us about Nok society. Iron smelting required teams. Miners, charcoal makers, clay workers, furnace builders, smiths. Knowledge had to be taught, protected, passed down. This means organization, cooperation, and systems of learning. This was structured knowledge, ancient science in action. They understood sources. They recognized material quality. They observed, tested, refined. Generation after generation improved the process. That is the scientific method, long before textbooks. Then, around 300 CE, the distinct Nok style fades from the record. Not because the people disappeared, but because cultures evolve. Merge, transform. But their knowledge did not vanish. Later West African civilizations, Ife, Igbo-Aku, Yoruba centers, show advanced metalworking that built on earlier foundations. The Nok were not an anomaly. They were part of a long African tradition of technological innovation. Modern scientific analysis confirms it. Nok iron was high quality. Some artifacts even show carbon levels suggesting early steel-like production. Let that sink in. While much of the world was still perfecting bronze, African metallurgists were experimenting with harder, stronger metal. So when you see a Nok terracotta head in a museum, remember, you are looking at only half their story. Those same hands that shaped clay also mastered fire hot enough to transform stone into tools. The Nok remind us of something powerful. Innovation is not owned by one region. Intelligence is not limited by geography. Science did not begin in one place. Over 2,500 years ago, in the landscapes of West Africa, furnaces burned through the night, and humanity moved forward. The Nok were not on the sidelines of the Iron Age. They were among the ones lighting the fire. Subscribe for more African history that restores balance to the human story, because the past is bigger, deeper, and more connected than we were ever taught.